Cowboys Nation, settle in because what we just witnessed felt like one of those nights when the entire stadium turns into a storm that nobody can escape before the ball even left the tee. You could feel that spark running through the sidelines. That kind of raw energy that only shows up when a team is fully locked in. And tired of hearing outside noise, the players came out talking loud, laughing, bumping shoulders. That type of vibe. That tells you they showed up ready to swing first and keep swinging until someone taps out. It did not matter who was watching or who tried to chirp from the stands, because the Cowboys stepped onto that field acting like it was their living room. And they were defending the floor. The noise, the tension, the anticipation, everything just mixed into this wild atmosphere that felt like something big was coming. Something that was about to shift the entire tone of the game. And as soon as the mix caught the early chatter, you could tell the guys were already cooking, already hyped, already feeling like they had a movie to film under those lights. From the jump, you saw players bantering, calling each other out in that playful, competitive way, reminding each other to stay locked, stay physical, stay aggressive. There was this moment where one of the leaders walked through the pre-game huddle, pointing at his guys, telling them to play fast, play strong, and protect the football because those little details shape everything. You could see heads nodding around him, arms on shoulders. That sense of unity you only get when a team knows exactly what kind of fight they are walking into. And when that final chant echoed through the huddle, it felt like the whole squad exhaled at the same time, ready to unleash something heavy. Then kickoff hits and the energy turns into action. Early on, you see a defensive stop that has the whole sideline yelling, guys jumping around, coaches slapping clipboards, but just as quick, the momentum flips with a deep strike from Philadelphia. And suddenly the crowd gets loud and the field tilts the other direction. You could see players regrouping, coaches reminding them to calm down, reset, stay disciplined. One of the veterans pulled his unit together and straight up said it was on him, that they could not let small mistakes become gifts to a rival offense. That type of accountability, that type of honesty, it hit different. Everyone around him nodded like, yeah, that is the standard. Fix it, tighten up, and go again. But football has a way of testing every crack, and another miscue hit them right after. A fumble on what should have been a routine return, ball rolling into enemy hands. The reaction on the sideline was intense, but not chaotic. Instead of panicking, teammates grabbed the guy who made the mistake, told him to breathe, lift his head, stick to the plan. They kept saying he was too good to let one play get in his head. And that steady presence brought the temperature back down. Even as the opponent punched in another touchdown, nobody on the Cowboys sideline folded. The message was crystal. Do not drift. Do not complain. Do not let emotion pull you out of your job. There was too much ball left. And this team plays for all 4 quarters, and then something shifted. You could feel it through the body language, the tone of the voices, the little spark in the sideline conversations. Someone shouted that the other team just had a small head start. Nothing more, and that one line lit everybody up. Suddenly the helmets were clicking. Players were pacing, coaches were pointing, and the sideline woke up like someone flipped a switch. The next offensive series felt like a statement. Turpin got loose on a catch and run that had the entire bench exploding, yelling that this was their moment now. Their chance to flip the script. Every little success fed into the next one. And you could see confidence rebuilding with each snap. Then came the defensive stand. 3rd down. Pressure mounting. The Cowboys needing something to jolt the momentum. And boom, a huge stop that had the whole sideline roaring. Players were hugging, slapping hands, talking trash, acting like the tide had officially turned, and the offense fed off that instantly. A beautiful deep connection down the sideline, a throw placed perfectly, a catch that made the crowd gasp. Teammates were screaming from across the field, hype not just for the play, but for the message it sent. They were not going anywhere, they were swinging back. And when that touchdown to the young receiver finally hit, the sideline went nuts. The kid celebrated like it was everything he had dreamed of, teammates lifting him, screaming his name, telling him this was just the beginning. You could see how much that moment meant. Not only for him, but for the whole team trying to claw their way back into the fight. As the clock wound down toward halftime, they marched again, refusing to let up, pushing the ball with purpose. Every player kept repeating the same words: do your job, finish the drive, stay present. When the long field goal attempt missed at the horn, nobody flinched. Instead, you heard voices saying that when they got the ball back, The chance for a big swing would be right there waiting. And they were right. The energy walking back onto the field for the second half felt completely different from the early moments of the game. There was a new confidence, a growing fire. Something in the way they carried themselves that said this was far from over. Players were pointing at each other like, stay ready, because the chance is coming, and just like that, the opening series gave them exactly what they were waiting for, time in the pocket, a deep shot, and another massive completion that lifted the entire sideline into celebration. As the second half rolled in, the Cowboys came out with a different kind of swagger. Like a team that had been tested, shaken, but refused to crack. Every snap, every motion, every glance across the line carried that sense of purpose. Prescott dropped back with confidence, eyes scanning the field, calm but deadly precise, while the offensive line moved like a synchronized unit, creating gaps, holding off pressure, giving their quarterback just enough time to thread the needle. Receivers ran their routes like they were on a mission, cutting sharp, planting feet, and making defenders pay for even the slightest misstep. You could feel the chemistry on display, that intangible connection that only comes from players who trust one another completely. There was no hesitation, no second guessing, just a relentless march toward getting points on the board and keeping momentum in their favor. On the sidelines, you could see the intensity reflecting in every player's eyes. Coaches were pacing, gesturing, shouting encouragement, but the real magic was in how the players carried themselves. Every gesture, every shout, every high five carried weight. This wasn't about showboating. It wasn't about ego. It was about energy, about driving each other, about proving they belonged in moments that demanded nothing less than excellence. Every defensive stop was celebrated like a victory. But it wasn't overconfidence, it was reinforcement. A reminder that if they stayed disciplined and executed, they could bend the game their way. And when the defense forced a turnover, the sideline erupted with a mix of excitement and focus, knowing that this was their shot, their chance to seize control. Prescott continued to orchestrate drives with precision, moving the chains with sharp passes, occasional scrambles, and flawless decision-making. Every completion, no matter the distance, fed into the building momentum, and the sideline carried that energy like a wave rolling forward. You could see players pointing, calling out adjustments, staying on top of every little detail, knowing that this game required zero lapses in concentration. Even when minor mistakes occurred, the response was immediate, corrective, and united. Accountability was everywhere. You could hear it in voices reminding each other of assignments. You could see it in gestures correcting footwork or alignment, and you could feel it in the trust that every man had in the next. One of the most striking moments was watching a young receiver break free on a deep route, catching the ball in stride, turning upfield, and pushing defenders back with determination. The crowd went wild, the sideline went ballistic. But what stood out was the calm intensity with which the play was celebrated. It wasn't overdone. It was recognition. Acknowledgement that the execution was perfect, the timing was flawless, and the effort was unmatched. You could see veterans patting him on the helmet, clapping him on the shoulder, reminding him that this was what they worked for, that this was the moment they dreamed of. Together, the combination of youth and experience was palpable, blending into a team dynamic that felt unstoppable. Defensively, the Cowboys showed the same kind of resilience. Every blitz, every coverage, every tackle was deliberate, smart, and physical. The line got pressure when it counted, forcing hurried throws, while linebackers and secondary players capitalized on mistakes, intercepting passes, stripping the ball, and shutting down holes. The sideline erupted with each defensive stop. But the players didn't just celebrate, they immediately reset, lining up for the next series with the same intensity and focus. There was a sense that they understood how fragile momentum can be in football and how important it was to seize every opportunity. Even small gains or minor losses were analyzed and corrected on the fly, showing a mental toughness that matched their physical prowess. The energy kept building when Prescott connected on a perfectly timed bootleg, rolling right, scanning the field, and threading a deep ball to a receiver in the end zone who made an impossible catch. The touchdown didn't just put points on the board, it sent a message. The sideline exploded with excitement, players screaming, hugging, jumping, their faces lit up with pure joy. But there was no complacency. The veterans quickly reminded everyone to stay sharp, to keep playing, and to execute the fundamentals. It was a perfect example of how this team balances emotion with discipline, passion with preparation. The final quarter turned into a showcase of grit and determination. The Cowboys executed play after play with surgical precision, combining short, methodical passes with explosive runs, maintaining a balance that kept the defense guessing. Every drive was calculated, every decision deliberate, and the sideline mirrored the field in intensity. When a critical third down came up, the offensive line held strong against a relentless pass rush. Prescott delivered a perfect strike, and the receiver turned it into a first down that moved the chains and kept the drive alive. Cheers echoed, but the players barely paused, immediately setting up for the next play, knowing that every second counted, and nothing was guaranteed. Then came the pivotal moments, clutch plays that demanded composure under pressure. A quick snap, a fake, a perfectly executed route, and the ball landed in the hands of a wide-open receiver, pushing the team deep into scoring position. Every movement was calculated, every gesture precise, and the sideline responded with controlled excitement, recognizing the gravity of the moment. When the score finally came, it wasn't just points, it was validation. Every tackle, every block, every snap contributed to this result, and you could see the collective pride in the faces of players who knew exactly what they had endured to reach that moment. As the game wound down, the Cowboys maintained that high-octane energy, refusing to allow the opponent back into the fight. Every play was executed with precision, every alignment correct, and every player held accountable for their assignment. The sideline was alive with encouragement, reminders, and celebration, but it was always underlined by discipline, even in victory formation. You could see the attention to detail, the leadership, the mentorship, and the relentless drive that had carried them through the toughest moments. Every chant, every cheer, every clap reflected not just joy but pride in a team that refused to quit, that refused to be outworked, that refused to be outplayed. When the final whistle blew, the sideline erupted into controlled chaos, players hugging, jumping, screaming, some almost in disbelief at the performance they had delivered. It was more than a win. It was a testament to preparation, resilience, and belief. The young players celebrated alongside the veterans, and the energy was contagious, not just in the stadium, but across every fan watching, feeling every heartbeat of the game. It was clear that this was not just another regular season matchup. This was a statement, a moment of pure football emotion, raw energy, and collective excellence that defined the Cowboys as a team that plays every snap with intensity, intelligence, and heart. The victory was theirs, earned through sweat, focus, and unity. A perfect example of how passion meets precision on the gridiron. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. Whispers swirling around Frisco grew into a storm late last night, and now the entire NFL world is buzzing. According to sources close to the Cowboys facility, Jerry Jones has officially parted ways with offensive coach Brian Schottenheimer, a move that caught even longtime insiders off guard. The decision, described by one staffer as sudden but simmering, appears to signal a dramatic shift in direction for a franchise that has spent the season struggling to define its identity. Jones, known for his impatience when expectations aren't met, reportedly demanded immediate and visible change, a phrase that has already become the talk of league executives. While the exact conversations behind closed doors remain tightly guarded, several individuals familiar with the situation say tension had been mounting for weeks. The offense, once envisioned as a fast-paced, aggressive machine, never quite found the rhythm or consistency the front office expected. Schottenheimer's role, though sometimes unclear to the public, was central to the team's strategic layout, making his dismissal both predictable in hindsight and shocking in its timing. Around the locker room, reactions are mixed but cautious. Players were seen in small groups, speaking in low tones, clearly aware that such a shakeup rarely ends with just one departure. Assistants have begun quietly evaluating their own standing, and league analysts are already speculating on potential replacements. Though nothing concrete has surfaced, an air of uncertainty hangs heavy, but so does a sense of urgency. Jones' message, however indirect, is unmistakable. Change is not only coming, it is required, and if this bold move is any indication, the Cowboys may be preparing for more than a simple course correction. They may be bracing for a full recalibration, one that could redefine the franchise's trajectory and reshape its internal power dynamics for seasons to come. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.